the slaughter that occurred in Atlanta. And that's just what it was, a slaughter. And all kinds of excuses were made of the killer. Oh, he must have been having a bad day. Oh, we think it's having to do with a sexual addiction. Everything except for what it was. The man intentionally, consciously targeted Asians and killed them. It was that simple. Now, it doesn't get too much more hateful than that, because as an African American, as a black man, our groups have suffered that, seems like, forever. But we're not the only group. And yet here we come again with the so-called supremacists or the dominant group feeling as if they are entitled to just kill anybody who is not like them. Now, that was exacerbated over the last 4 years. I don't care what anyone says, whatever your views are, whatever side you're on, or whatever you label yourself. The fact of the matter is, this mentality was exacerbated over the last 4 years with our previous president. Like, not like, love, not love, doesn't matter to me. That's just a fact. If you look at the various crimes and attitudes, even leading up to January 6th, even January 6th in and of itself, was exacerbated by the constant rhetoric of the previous quote unquote so-called leader. And actually, he was a leader. He just led us in the wrong way. All right. But the fact that you can get somebody that, once again, now they go on his social media page and he could see, law enforcement could see all the different negative commentary about Asians and thoughts and so forth and so on. And then it got to the point where he's walking into businesses and literally killing them. Now, I saw very quickly on the news, they flashed the photos of the various people who were killed. These were people who had families. These were people who had got up that morning and went to their jobs, whether it was in the massage parlors or the spas or whatever they were. They went to their job. They got up that morning to go do their job like any other morning. No one in their farthest imaginations would have imagined that some nut would now walk into the place and start gunning them down just because they were Asian. Now, some of this stuff is just, I don't get the thinking behind killing people. And I've shared it on this show over and over and over again in terms of the fact that we are all human beings. I saw a wonderful post on social media the other day that had 2 bags of blood hanging next to each other. And I'm paraphrasing it, but it had something along the lines of, your child needs a blood transfusion. Do you now deny the transfusion, or which one would you take? The black blood, the white blood? Because, see, blood is not labeled that way. At the end of the day, if you're trying to survive or save someone's life, it doesn't matter. So, the 2 blood bags are hanging there, and the question is, okay, your child is dying, or they need a blood transfusion. Are you going to sit there now and start arguing over, is that black blood? Is that Asian blood? Is that Indian blood? Is that this kind of blood? No, you're not going to do that. My child is dying and needs blood transfusion. Give him the blood transfusion. All right. See, the point is, the blood is red. Everyone's blood is red. And it doesn't matter what the skin color is on the outside. It doesn't matter the country, and it doesn't matter the ethnic group. None of that matters at the end of the day. And yet we constantly keep going down this same old dumb and stupid pattern of people being killed, lives being taken by someone who did not have a right to take it. No one has the right to take someone else's life. God gives life. None of us as humans have the right to take it. And yet you have folks who have gone nutty enough, if they're nutty, because everybody is not a mental. I'm sorry, everybody's not a mental case. They know exactly what they're doing. And it doesn't have anything to do with mental illness. They're just evil. And it's because they've now built up this hatred inside. I'm going to take out people who do not think like I think, do not look like I look. That's just straight up hatred. And yes, I'm not taking anything away from, because there are folks who are suffering with mental illness, no question. Because see, this gets into the next piece of the of the commentary, if you will. The killer in this instance, as in many instances, is Caucasian. And now, folks, once again, on a worldwide stage, get an opportunity to see the differences between how, when the perpetrator is Caucasian versus the perpetrator being of any other ethnic group, particularly African American. So now, again, the police sergeants get up there making all kinds of excuses. Oh, I guess he was having a bad day. Well, you know what? Folks have bad days all the time. I have plenty of bad days, but I don't go out killing folks. Oh, I guess he was. They get on the microphones and make these dumb comments. He must have been having a bad day. Well, guess what? There's a lot of us that have bad days, and we don't go get guns, walk up into businesses and start shooting folks. The other one was, it could have been a sexual addiction. Really? So he has a sexual addiction and he just takes out just Asian people. So, he takes out just Asian people, and we make the leap that it could be a sexual addiction. Now, see, I'm saying all that to say, and that's what was said. Those are not the thought patterns that are given whenever the perpetrator is African American. All of the stereotypes kick in. All of the negative perceptions kick in. And the benefit of the doubt is not given. There is no, he must have been having a bad day. It's his head is slammed on the top of the police car, or he's gunned down automatically by the police before, when we get into these other cases where Caucasian perpetrators taken to Burger King for lunch, allowed to go to Mexico on vacation. See, that's the disparities that's why folks get, extremely frustrated with. That's the disparity. That's where folks get frustrated because, if it's one group, it's and if it's another group, totally different. And then you have folks that say, whenever someone who's bringing it up like I'm bringing it up right now, you black folks are just too sensitive. Well, how is it a matter of being sensitive whenever it's the reality? It's what's happening. It's what we're seeing. It's what we're experiencing. So how is that being too sensitive when it is what it is? That's the reality. What's his name down in South Carolina or either over there out west when they did their killing was taken to Burger King or McDonald's or wherever he was taken. The fact of the matter is the police took him to lunch. I have not heard of one African American or black perpetrator that's ever been taken to lunch upon arrest. That's the kind of things we're talking about. Just too sensitive. Privilege? What's that? We don't know anything about that. What is privilege? You get it so much you don't even realize you got it. I was in a conference this week. The last 3 days, I was in a conference Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And some of the presenters started talking about a word that has now been introduced over the last few years called microaggressions. And see, those, the microaggressions were going on. We just didn't know a name for it. But I'm listening to the various presenters share their experiences while they were in college, whether it was grad school, whether it was for their doctorates or whatever. And I was sitting there like, wow. Because what happens is whenever you have these experiences that I was hearing, you think it's only you. Then you hear other people from other parts of the country, other part of the world, start sharing very similar experiences, even in different times. Because I experienced it back in the 90s. And these folks that we're talking about like only a couple years ago. Might even been less than a year ago. And yet people try to keep on, oh no, it doesn't. Yes, it does exist. These things that we're talking about, that I talk about on Saturday mornings whenever I'm having my various guests here. And again, I always say I'm not bashing what I'm bashing is the behavior. What I'm bashing is the outcomes. What I'm bashing is the fact that folks are losing their lives senselessly. And the perpetrators are treated in two different ways when this happens. The perpetrators, depending on the color of his or her skin, they're treated totally different for no other reason than the color of their skin. Now, if you're on the giving end of that, it's not a big deal to you. But if you're on the receiving end of it, if you're the one whose life was lost, if you're the family member now who's lost a mom because she was Asian, if you're a family member or, a company or a business or whatever it is that now lost an employee because they were Asian, when you're on the receiving end of that, and then to have somebody stand up and talk about, oh, I guess they were having a bad day. Really? Seriously? But that's what folks are. And the truth of the matter is the groups that are constantly the recipients of this are tired. They're beyond tired. Tired doesn't even describe the word. The feeling, rather. The word tired doesn't even describe where these various groups are in terms of always being the recipient of hate by these so-called supremacist groups. That's why I told you last week, I don't get the royalty thing. I really don't. Now, again, I've been to London. I've been to the palace. I've been there. I've seen the changing of the guard. I was there. I don't even know if Queen was looking out the window when I was there or not. She may have been, because it's my understanding that they're usually looking out the window when the guards are changing over. So I was there when the guards was changing. I've been to London. I just don't understand the royalty thing. What is it that whatever little Harry and whatever all the other little ones that were born, I forget all their names. As a matter of fact, Archie, I think. All the other kids they're born, just because they're born into that family, now they're quote unquote royalty. I don't get that. Because as I said, if that's the case, then I'm just as royal. If that's the case, we're all royal. We're all royal. I'm from royalty as well. So as far as I'm concerned, just like Will and Harry, and then the wives, the ones that they marry, they become royal. Kate and Meghan and whoever the other ones were. So whoever they choose as their mate now, who was not born into a royal family, quote unquote, they become now royal. What is that? And again, this is, it'll be part of my podcast. So, it'll be under my Marc Medley Show name. But what is that? As human beings, we have got to get away from this. I am better than you. You're less than me. Therefore, because you're less than me, I can kill you. Because I think your ethnic group is less than my ethnic group, I can just get rid of you. I can be hateful towards you because my ethnic group is this and your ethnic group is that. My skin color is this and your skin color is that. I don't know if my lifetime, probably not, because it's been here so long. But when do we get beyond that and see each other for who we are, which is, as I said, week after week after week, we are all human beings. And this is, again, and I'll get ready to close it now because I got to get ready for my guest. But the differences is actually what works for us, not against us. It's the differences, it's the various puzzle pieces all fitting together that makes the whole. There is no one piece. It's all the differences. We ought to be celebrating the differences instead of always negating the differences. We're always trying to put what's different about someone down instead of celebrating it and using it to the advantage rather than trying to annihilate it. I'm perplexed. I'm sitting there because, again, I share with you all the time. I don't watch too much television. It's very limited. And I've even cut down on watching the news because the stories are the same old stuff day after day after day after day. But I happened to turn on the other day and I see the story about the Asians that were slaughtered down in Atlanta. And I'm sitting there again, as the kids can say, SMH, shaking my head. Like, really? Seriously? Just killing people because they're of an ethnic group. Well, as I said, that's my thoughts in terms of that. There are so many. I could probably sit here for 12 or 13 hours just pontificating and sharing with you my thoughts on this foolishness, because I saw the pictures of those kids who now don't have a mother. I saw the pictures of the family because the age spanned. It was young. It was, some in their 20s, some 30s. One that was about to be 50. I believe, if I heard the story correctly, they were about to celebrate their 50th birthday. There was some that had 2 sons, and to show the pictures that were up there. Once again, sad because some nut. And I don't even want to put it on the fact that they were a nut, because I still say, these folks, they're not all nuts. They know what they're doing, and they're knowing who they go. If they're that nutty, then first off, why don't they take themselves out? Just, you don't want to be bothered with anybody. Just take yourself. If they're that nutty, and if they're that nutty, how is it that they're always sane enough to go after the targeted group that they want to go after? That takes some kind of thinking and rationale. That takes some kind of planning. That takes some type of forethought or premeditation. So I don't know. Earlier I read from Reverend Run's book where it says something's got to give. Yeah, it does. It really does. With that being said, again, I invite you to visit my website. That'll get you. That's the portal to everything else. It's marcamedley.com. And as always, I thank you so much for listening to the commentary.